Philadelphia Eagles GM Howie Roseman, alongside others representing the Philadelphia Eagles, spoke not too long ago at the NFL meeting. So it was interesting to hear all the questions that they asked him and all the answers he was willing to give. Some about the draft, some about these free agents. But one certain topic that I wanted to talk about was what he said about Derek Barnett. It's some things that kind of made me scratch my head at first and be like, why are you defending this move? But the way he put it might have actually made sense. So let's talk about it.
You want Philly?
Yeah, let's do it.
What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and it is Philly the podcast. So today I want to talk about Howie Roseman and basically what he said. Shout out to Dave Zangaro. I actually took a lot of these quotes from his article. It was really straight to the point. I loved it. So shout out to him. So we're going to be reading a couple of the quotes that he had in his article from what Howie Roseman said about Derek Barnett, and I'm going to kind of go over my thoughts about how I feel about what was said. But before we get into that, be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, join the family, check all the links in the description for your boy. But yeah, let's get right into this. So obviously Derek Barnett is a very, very polarizing figure in Philadelphia. Look, it seems like the contract was very cheap. Seems like we got him for a steal in their eyes. So we'll get into all that. But it's, for me, it really is just, we are a team that likes to have waves of defensive linemen. We like to have different sets, different, amounts of people that can go in there, give, different types of looks, and just keep our defensive line fresh. And that's been a marquee of our defense for a long time. So it seems like they want to keep that going, keeping Derek Barnett here. And maybe there's that upside that he can have a great year. He can have a great career after this. And he's just still learning. He's still very young, right? He's still very young. So there's still that chance. But I just want to get right into these, quotes that he had. So like I said, Dave Zangaro put out this article for NBC Sports, and these were just the quotes that really stuck out to me from what Howie Roseman was talking. So the first one was, he said, I think the perception of Derek is probably not fair with the reality. The Eagles GM said at an NFL owners meeting on Monday afternoon. He's a guy that if you're looking at a different team and you go, a 26-year-old defensive end coming off his not best year, we'd probably look at that and go, maybe that's an opportunity. So that's interesting words. Those are interesting words. He says maybe that's an opportunity. Obviously, a young guy, 26 years old. And you not seeing the contract makes me believe that it's a pretty small contract, because his camp probably doesn't want to leak that, him being Derek Barnett's camp. But words like this and saying that's an opportunity, not his best year, it seems like he was very, very honest with himself and honest with Derek Barnett about who he thought he was with this team and what he was able to bring last year. So it's very interesting to see Howie Roseman just being this honest, to be honest. He says the perception is probably not fair with the reality, and I kind of agree with that. I've been saying this for a while, you know what I'm saying? I do believe that Derek Barnett is a good rotational piece at the worst. He's a good player. Pass rushers are a premium position, and that was a lot of P's. That was very hard to do right there. But pass rusher is a a premium position. There we go. So you can't just give up on guys that have been slightly productive, and especially if they're at a young age. He's been a starter. He's played a lot of ball for us. He's made some good plays for us. He's obviously made a lot of knucklehead plays, but the perception that is all he's been able to do and that he's brought nothing to this club, I feel is a little bit unfair. So if that's what Howie's saying, then I hate to say this, but I tend to agree with him on that. And then, like I said, the 26-year-old, you cannot just give up young talent. You can't just let them walk, especially if it's going to be cheap, especially if he's on a prove-it type contract, which it feels like he is. So, maybe this is an opportunity to kind of, revoice what he said. Maybe this is an opportunity for the Philadelphia Eagles, like I said, to see what he can become. If he's trash in these next 2 years, I highly doubt that it's going to fiscally hurt us. So I don't think you lose much by having him on this roster, but do you gain much? Probably not too much. I want to quickly interrupt to just say shout out to BetUS.com for sponsoring this video. The links are going to be in my description, and they're going to be pinned in the live chat if you're watching the premiere. They're right now offering 125% deposit matching. So you put down whatever you put, they're going to match you 125%. it's time. It's the season to get your bet on, right? So let's get it going. There's baseball coming back, basketball's in full swing. Obviously, you got March Madness coming to a close. So be sure to get your bets in at betus.com and let them know that Philly the podcast sent you. All right, let's get back to the work. So that one quote in itself is telling, but I want to get to the next one, right? So in here, Howie Roseman says, I think going into free agency, he probably thought a little differently about where he would be. And this, to me, is contract talk. To me, this is Howie Roseman saying that they probably had conversations, which I think is no surprise to anyone, but they had conversations throughout this season and probably leading into this offseason about his numbers. And they probably just couldn't come to an agreement based off of what Derek Barnett thought he was. Like I said, pass rusher is a premium position, but at the same time, you have to be honest with what you've been able to bring to this roster as far as your, just pressures. He has been a guy that has been able to get into that backfield. Again, the knuckle-headed moves and stuff like that is really what's setting him back, and the lack of ability to just finish plays. I mean, we've seen it this year. I think he had 2.5 sacks, obviously by far his worst year. So it sucks to see as a player that you want to see ascend, but I just don't feel like we've ever seen it. But he's got 2 more years. So let's get to the next one. Roseman said, and for us understanding that's where he was thinking, it got to a point where it's a huge priority to have a wave of defensive line that's really good. We know we can count on him. Obviously, it's a position we want to continue to add to, and we don't want to make a strength a weakness. I wouldn't say it's a strength right now. Obviously, last year we were like, I think, third to last in sacks, but I digress. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. So I understand what Howie Roseman is saying right here. Look, you want to add to your defensive line. We are a team that is known to add through the trenches. We are a team that is known to win through the trenches. So it's time for the Philadelphia Eagles to add and build on. But what does this all say to me, to be 100% honest? If we're going and just putting everything in a nice little bow, right? Tying everything up in a nice little bow and ribbon. I think that this says that the Philadelphia Eagles are looking for edge rushers. And in this draft, I would not be surprised to see them double down. I'm not saying in the first round, but, I would not be surprised to see them taking one in the first, one in the fourth, fifth, third, something like that, because there's a lot of talent in this draft. And I think adding somebody like or re-adding, bringing back somebody like Derek Barnett gives you a little bit of flexibility in what you need your rookie to do, right? If you go out there and get a George Karlaftis, if you go out there and get a Jermaine Johnson, you're not going to sit there and say, we need you to play 60, 70% of the snaps and take over for Derek Barnett. We need you to just slowly, get acquainted with the defense, slowly get integrated into the defense. And for Derek Barnett, that's going to push him. That's going to tell him, okay, I need to work harder, because now if I don't, this rookie's going to come and take all of my snaps. Your snaps are going to probably be relegated to like a third, fourth option now if we do get a rookie in here. So, that's something to think about. This might help us in both ways. So I hate to agree with Howie, but I have to here. It might be an opportunity that we're looking at to be able to really get back to that, having a young, dominant defensive line. If Derek Barnett is our worst defensive line, if Derek Barnett is our fourth, fifth option at defensive end, I mean, that's really not bad, right? If we're looking at next year and we got Brandon Graham, we got Josh Sweat as our top 2, or maybe we brought in a Jermaine Johnson or Trayvon Walker, or you insert a rookie here, but we have one of those guys. So those are your top 3s, and then you're looking at Derek Barnett as that fourth rotational guy. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. If Derek Barnett is getting 25 to 40% of snaps every game, I don't think that's that bad. I really don't. I think that he's a solid contributor, and I know that we get frustrated, and sometimes we have our blinders on when it comes to our Philadelphia Eagles. We don't necessarily see it from another team's perspective, but I think Howie Roseman put this in a capsule pretty well. I think this is very true. You look at it from a different perspective, and this might be an opportunity to grab somebody at a cheap contract and see if he can't turn his career around. Look, we've done it before. We will continue to do it. I'm happy that we at least invested in our own to a certain point. I don't love all the signings. Obviously, I wanted to see more of a splash, but I'm not hating it. I'm not, this isn't the worst free agency I've seen. And I think, these comments and these statements also kind of make me feel like we're not done. I feel like we're going to keep adding players, maybe even through this free agency. Obviously nothing huge, but look, there's names like Steven Nelson, Stephen Gilmore, Julio Jones. There's so many names out there, OBJ, Jarvis Landry, that are gonna, by the day, in my opinion, your numbers are going down. We saw with Bobby Wagner, he wants $11 million. They don't even really want to pay him that, which I think is crazy. I'd give him $11 million if I had 12 and to throw him on the Eagles. But it is what it is. I mean, we'll see what happens. Now this is when you start getting good bargains, good deals, 1 year, 2 year deals. So it'll be interesting to see how involved the Eagles are, especially with the veterans that are on the market. But you guys let me know, what do you think about these comments that he made about Derek Barnett? Are you a little bit more okay with this pick back up? Because I mean, like I said, I tried to look at it from this point of view in the beginning. I know a lot of you guys roasted me on Twitter. It is what it is. I get it. But there is positive to this. There is a positive spin to this. But I know we all see the negative and kind of want to harp on that because there's not much else to look at and really say, at least we did that. But at least we got Hassan Reddick, right? At least Jason Kelsey's back, right? Let's look at these positives. But at least we got Fletcher Cox at a cheaper rate. We were able to kind of, even though we had to eat a little bit of money, we still were able to get out of that enormous contract at a pretty fair value and a pretty fair to both ends. I think both parties won in that. So there's positive spins to this free agency. It's not the sexiest in the world, but it is what it is. Sometimes, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. Sometimes the most beautiful person has the most ugly soul. So maybe this is a not the most beautiful free agency, but the soul is pure. Maybe that personality is killer. But anyways, I'm just rambling now. But y'all know what it is, man. It is Fly Eagles Fly, and we out here. Peace!
Eagles fans everywhere, this is for
Yeah.
you.
Fly Eagles flying when you on the team. Touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a Bird Gang Nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man saw Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randall. Season here, early time to do them in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.